you were still on the budget committee, what would your recommendation be if Berkeley were to come back and ask for more money for continued funding?
Not a dime. Not a dime.
California will stop funding a statewide database intended to uncover police misconduct and use of force records. UC Berkeley received a $6.87 million appropriation of California taxpayer money to fund the website back in 2023, but the funds will expire at the end of this month. Joining us to discuss this further is the Center Square investigative reporter, Adam Herbets. Adam, thanks for taking time with us. For the states, the Police Records Access Project launched in 2025 with roughly 1.5 million pages of internal law enforcement records from 1965 to 2024. You reviewed a lot of this. What did you find out?
Well, we found out there was nothing from 2025 or 2026. This was launched in 2025, but the newest records at that time were from 2024. And as we sit here today, June 2026, there's only been one case from the last 2 years. So it's a great resource if it's up to date. I would argue it's a great resource for historical data. Look, when I'm doing a story on an officer who might have done something wrong, I'll still use the website. I'll go in, I'll type in that officer's name, see if there's any cases of misconduct, use of force, shootings. But you got to know going into it, at least at this point, you're not going to have recent data. In fact, we found a case from the Los Angeles Police Department that they themselves put out. They included the body camera video of an officer shooting a man. That was from 2024. It still was not in this database. So at this point, there's no way to say that it's up to date. And that's why taxpayers are questioning that $6-7 million price tag and wondering if there's a better way to do this.
Yeah, you got a statement from Lisa Pickhoff-White, the director of research for the Police Records Access Project at UC Berkeley. She said that whether we receive more funding is up to the legislature and other funders. Further funding would allow us to release more records and to continue to gather the records and to continue to make improvements and release more information. How much are they looking to get either from the legislature or, as they said, other funders?
That's the question that I asked that I never really got a straight answer to. And in Lisa's defense, she isn't really authorized to talk about the funding questions. But the person who is authorized to talk about it, when I was making these requests back in April and May, said he was busy with finals. Now I found out he's on a sabbatical. So I want to know, how much are they asking for? Are they getting what they're asking for? And it sounds like the answer is no. At the end of this month, the money runs out. So they've got, 6 days left to spend what they have left if they want to keep upgrading this website. The question of whether there's a better way to do it or not, police chiefs say yes. They say, at least the good ones say, it's on us to be transparent in the first place. They shouldn't be giving all this money to a university to pull it out of us, to file lawsuits if necessary. But that's why state lawmakers are asking, well, why not just run the website through the state itself and have the attorney general hold them accountable?
You talked with Assembly Member Carl DeMeo out of San Diego. Here's what he had to say.
Was not aware of this particular program. Good idea, bad implementation. I think that transparency is wonderful. And, if we want to improve trust and confidence in policing, we need to make sure that we have a transparent process for people to see allegations and responses and activity. So you know what? If they think that this is so important to get this information, get this website going, set up the website through the Attorney General's office, and if people don't comply, they can be contacted by the Attorney General. But no, instead they're giving all this money to Berkeley. Oh, Newsom and Bonta have all the time in the world and all the lawyers in the world to go after local government on certain topics, but not on this one. You see that this is politics.
If you were still on the budget committee, what would your recommendation be if Berkeley were to come back and ask for more money for continued funding?
Not a dime. Not a dime. If the Attorney General and the governor think it's so important, they can easily get this information and set it up. And I would consider an appropriation for a very specific project to set up the website, maintain it. But that shouldn't be but a fraction of what Berkeley's been given.
Now, Adam, obviously, this is something that people are concerned about, the police accountability, making sure that The public records are available to, as you said, even if you've got a story about a particular police officer, you want to kind of go back into the records and see what they may have done in the past and whether those cases were rectified and closed with appropriate actions. What's going to happen next year? Is there going to just be a black hole for the year 25 and the year 26 and the year 27 and all this information there on the website from previous years?
I don't think so, and I hope not. Regardless of whether they're getting more state funding, it sounds like they were still filing records requests, which is a long and hard process. I don't know how many agencies there are in California. If I had to guess, over 500, maybe over 600 police departments across the state that they're trying to request records from. So yeah, it is a lot of work. I think they're using AI to help with that process, screen the records. Part of the reason for the delays, they say, is sometimes the police departments release a little bit more than they should. Sometimes they forget to redact a victim's phone number or the name of a sexual assault victim. So they want to make sure that they put a second set of eyes on it to make sure that police departments aren't accidentally releasing information that they shouldn't. But at the same time, when I asked how often is the website updated, the response was it's been updated at least once. I asked, why are there not any cases yet, at least from 2025? They said they're just now starting that process of requesting the records from 2025, and that was in May 2026. And look, I get it. It is a lot of records. It's a lot of cases, but sometimes one case makes all the difference. So when you're looking at it in terms of quantity versus quality, there's an argument to be made for both sides, but sometimes information on one case is all the public needs to know, understand, and care about the issues in their community.
And as you talked with the council member or the assembly member, DeMaio, but also with law enforcement officials, is there another way to do this other than giving $7 million to a university who's probably tapping interns to come on board and help out with data collection and whatnot? Is there a better way to do this that you're hearing from your sources?
Well, the good chiefs of police, the ones that really do care about transparency and want to get out ahead of this, they'll tell me that this is already part of their job. They shouldn't have to allocate more resources to something that's a fundamental part of their jobs, which is transparency. But there is the other side of that coin, which is if police departments get caught kind of picking and choosing which cases to release, that's not going to be good either. So that's why it's still important to have journalists, to have people like Lisa and her team that give it a second set of eyes. And the Center Square does that, and news agencies across the country do that. But when we look at California, they are uploading a lot of this information already through California Post, Peace Officer Standards and Training. So to act like it would be this heavy lift to be transparent, to dig up these records, I don't know that I necessarily agree with that.
Adam Herbets, investigative reporter for the Center Square. Greatly appreciate your work and the team from the investigative staff. Be sure to get the latest at thecentersquare.com.